The farmhouse smelled like lemon polish and betrayal. I sat in the front row of our small-town law office, wearing my best navy dress and clutching the envelope that held my Parsons acceptance. Fashion design had been my obsession since I was 9, stitching outfits for dolls from old pillowcases. Grandpa had seen that spark. He'd told me the farmhouse would be mine one day, along with the savings account he'd built for my girl who dreams in fabric. Behind me sat my brother, Michael, slouched with his legs stretched out like he owned the room. My mother perched beside him, fingers twitching over her pearls. She hadn't looked at me once. Mr. Feldman, our lawyer and Grandpa's oldest friend, cleared his throat and opened the folder. To my grandson, Michael Walker, I leave the Walker. Farmhouse, all 37 acres of land, and the entirety of my savings account, currently totaling $183,000. I couldn't breathe. To my granddaughter, Natalie Walker, he continued, glancing up with a hint of hesitation. I leave my late wife's sewing machine. May it continue to inspire your art. That was it. A sewing machine. Michael leaned back in his chair with a smug half-smile. My mother finally turned toward me, her voice soft but practiced. Honey, it's what your grandfather would have wanted. Michael's starting his own business. He needs the foundation. My throat clenched. That's not what Grandpa told me. He said he promised people change their minds, she said briskly. And Parsons isn't exactly practical. Natalie, you're young. You'll bounce back. Bounce back? I stared at the manila folder like it might still rearrange itself. Michael was a college dropout with 2 DUIs and a failed crypto podcast. I was valedictorian, straight A's, portfolio reviewed by actual designers in New York. This wasn't about who earned it. It was about who they chose. You knew, I whispered, the words dragging from my mouth. You convinced him. Mom's smile faded. I did what was best for this family. Michael chuckled under his breath. Guess you're not the favorite after all. The room cracked around me, but no one else seemed to hear it. My fingers clenched the envelope in my lap. Parsons, full ride, 3 days from now. I was supposed to start my life. Instead, my legacy had just been signed away. I stood up. The chair scraped back, loud and sharp. Mr. Feldman looked startled. My mother looked relieved. Where are you going? She asked. I looked at her, and for the first time, I didn't feel like her daughter. I felt like a stranger who had finally seen the truth. I'm leaving, I said, and I'm not coming back. Natalie, don't be dramatic, she said. Rising from her chair, I turned toward the door, voice cold as steel. This wasn't drama. This was the final decision, and you made it without me. I didn't slam the door. I didn't cry. I walked out into the thick Georgia heat, the envelope still in my hand and a fire in my chest I didn't know I had. They'd stolen everything. My home, my future, my trust, but they hadn't taken my name, and they damn sure hadn't taken my ambition. I didn't go home. Not really. I stepped into the farmhouse that used to be mine, walked straight past the family photos, and went upstairs to the room I painted lilac when I was 12. The air felt heavier now, like even the walls were watching. Me walk away from the life I'd spent 19 years earning. Downstairs, I could hear Michael popping open a beer. My suitcase was still packed for New York. I unzipped it slowly, like I was peeling away the last layer of denial. One dress for the Parsons mixer, 3 sketchbooks, my portable sewing kit, a framed photo of Grandpa, his arm around me in front of the barn, both of us laughing. I set that one aside. The savings I had, $300, came from handmade dresses I'd sold at church events. I'd planned to use it for subway passes and thread, not starting over, but starting over was all I had left. The sewing machine Grandma left me? I wrapped it in 2 sweatshirts and tucked it gently into the suitcase. It wasn't just a tool now. It was proof of who I was and what they thought I was worth. As I zipped the case shut, my bedroom door creaked open. Natalie, my mother said from the hallway. Her voice was soft, performative. I didn't turn, You don't have to leave. You can still go to Parsons, you just might need to take out loans. Work part-time. Michael really needs this shot. I faced her slowly. So did I. She flinched, just slightly. It's not personal, she tried. It's exactly personal, I said, my voice low. You made a choice, and I want you to remember that when you realize what you lost. I wheeled my suitcase down the stairs. Michael didn't even glance up from his phone. My mother followed me to the front porch, but I didn't give her the chance to speak again. I walked straight past the porch swing where Grandpa used to read me stories, down the dirt driveway lined with dying sunflowers. At the end of the gravel road, I turned back once, not to look at the house, not to say goodbye, but to remind myself, this was where they let me go, and now it was where I let them go. New York didn't care that I was heartbroken. It didn't care that I was 19, carrying a Singer sewing machine on the subway, or that I'd left my entire family behind in a flash of southern humidity and hurt. The city was loud, impatient, and expensive, and it demanded I keep up or be swallowed whole. I rented half of a basement room in Queens. The walls were damp, the mattress sagged, and the radiator screamed like a banshee every night. I shared a bathroom with 2 dancers and a poetry student who cried herself to sleep more often than I wanted to admit, but I was free. The $300 I had? Gone in 4 days. Rent deposit, groceries, Metro card. On the 5th day, I sat on the edge of the mattress, holding Grandma's sewing machine in my lap like it was a lifeline, and I made a decision. There was a flea market 3 blocks from the subway station, an outdoor maze of stalls, chaos, and possibility. I walked in with a folding chair, a crate of supplies, and a cardboard sign that read, custom mending, same day, design tweaks, quick turnarounds. The first person who approached me was a woman holding a ripped denim jacket. I charged her $10 and added a floral lining from my own stash. She came back the next week with 3 more friends. I worked on milk crates. I stitched in the cold with fingerless gloves. I skipped dinner more times than I could count. But with every needle pull, every patch, I felt something stitching back together inside me. Then came her, tall, silver boots. Hair like fire, she picked up one of my altered jackets and ran her fingers over the seam. You do this? I nodded. She looked me over. Sweatshirt, frizzy ponytail, dirt under my nails. Can you make me one? But different, edgy, southern. But street, I didn't hesitate. Give me a week. She came back in 5 days, paid me $120, then tagged me in a post to her 300,000 Instagram followers. Walker thread. Girls got fire. I didn't sleep that night. I built a website from a free template, created a logo on my roommate's tablet. I named it Walker Thread, a reminder of where I came from and what I was about to outrun. Orders started trickling in, then pouring, then exploding. I borrowed money to print business cards, sold out of every upcycled denim piece I made, started hiring 2 women from the shelter down the block to help me cut fabric at night. I didn't use my full name. Nobody knew who Natalie Walker was. They only knew the brand, and that was how I liked it. Because the next time anyone in my family saw the name Walker, it wouldn't be on a mailbox in Georgia. It would be lit up on a storefront in Soho. I stopped measuring success in dollars. I measured it in stitches, in sweat, in how many nights I worked straight through till sunrise without feeling sorry for myself. I measured it in how long it took to build a reputation from scratch, and how fast it spread once I did. Walker Thread wasn't just a brand anymore. It was a movement. My clients didn't want basic. They wanted bold. They wanted me. My designs mixed grit with glamour, raw hems, corseted denim, velvet appliques over army jackets. I stitched my heartbreak into every piece, and somehow, women felt it when they wore them. By month 6, I had a wait list. By month 8, I had an investor. He showed up wearing loafers worth more than my entire inventory. Said he'd seen my name in a fashion blog. Asked where I'd studied. Nowhere, I said. Unless you count flea markets and heartbreak? He laughed. I didn't. He offered $50K for a 30% stake. I declined. Then built a better deal with a venture group owned by 3 former models who understood what it meant to start with nothing. I moved production to a tiny studio in Brooklyn, hired 5 full-time seamstresses, all women over 40 who'd been laid off from fashion factories. They had stories like mine, hands like mine, hunger like mine. We stitched in silence most days, but there was power in that silence. I began offering custom workshops, teaching teenage girls from low-income schools how to design, cut, and sew their own dreams. Walker thread became more than fashion. It became family, the kind I had to build from scratch. And all the while, I kept my last name hidden. Natalie Walker was the girl they dismissed. But Natalie Rhodes, that name was rising. I watched my family's world from afar. Quietly, carefully. Michael launched a digital payment app that tanked, then a weed startup that never got licensed. I saw his face on local business panels, always talking, never delivering, and the farmhouse? I hadn't looked at a photo of it in years, until one landed in my inbox. Crumbling porch. Weeds up to the windows. For sale by auction. My hands trembled as I clicked open, because the house they stole from me was about to become mine again. The farmhouse was listed for auction at $42,000. 10 years ago, it was valued at 6 times that. The photo in the listing nearly knocked the wind out of me, not because of how broken it looked, but because I could still feel the porch floorboards under my bare feet. I could still hear Grandpa's voice humming Old Johnny Cash from the barn, but now it was just one more casualty of Michael's vision. He'd tried to turn the land into a digital farming cooperative, whatever that meant. He'd taken out loans, defaulted, and then vanished from the news cycle when it tanked. The bank was done waiting, and so was I. I didn't bid. I bought through a shell company I'd set up 3 years earlier for brand protection. No one would trace it. No one would see it coming. Then came the email. Subject, Rural Arts Revival Project. Summit invite location, Atlanta, Georgia. Keynote host, Michael Walker. I stared at the screen for a long time. Apparently Michael had rebranded himself, again. This time, as a community revitalization expert. He was pitching a nonprofit initiative to preserve rural land by partnering with ethical investors. His star project? The Walker Farmhouse. My farmhouse. The one he didn't even know he'd already lost. I booked a first-class ticket the next day, brought my best tailor, my lawyer, and a one-of-a-kind jacket made from my first flea market scraps, the jacket that started it all. Are you sure you want to go? My COO asked. This isn't just a business play. No, I said, zipping the garment bag. It's personal, but it's also earned. I hadn't stepped foot in Georgia since I left, but the moment I walked through the airport terminal, something in me shifted. I wasn't Natalie the dreamer anymore. I wasn't the girl with a sewing machine and nothing else. I was a brand, a legacy, a name they didn't recognize. Yet, and at that summit, they were going to see exactly who they gave up. Not with bitterness, not with revenge, with power. The ballroom was decked in rustic glamour, mason jar centerpieces, reclaimed wood signage, soft country music humming through speakers. It was all so manufactured, like someone tried to bottle authenticity and slap a price tag on it. I signed in under the name Natalie Rhodes. The host waved me toward the VIP row. I walked in wearing a floor-length denim trench with velvet trim and gold threading, the first ever Walker Thread original. All eyes turned. Whispers followed. Michael stood on stage, mid-pitch, gesturing toward a slide that showed my farmhouse. And with the right partners, he said, beaming to the room, we can restore the Walker property into a working design. Hub for Southern artisans. It's not just land, it's legacy. He had no idea the land already belonged to me. The moderator opened the floor to investors. I stood. I have a question, I said. My voice echoed with steel. Michael squinted toward the back, confused. Yes, ma'am? I stepped into the aisle, slow and sure. When exactly were you planning to disclose that the farmhouse was already sold, and that the buyer? I paused, locking eyes with him. Was sitting in this room? Silence. Michael blinked. What are you talking about? I'm talking about fraud, Michael. I'm talking about trying to raise capital on a property you don't even own anymore. Pulled a document from my leather bag. My lawyer handed copies to the front row. Natalie Rhodes Holdings acquired the deed 2 weeks ago. The house is no longer yours to pitch. The room gasped. Michael's jaw dropped, and then it hit him. Wait. Natalie? His voice cracked. Is that? Yes, I said. It's me. He stepped back like I'd struck him. You changed your name, because the one I had came with chains. My mother, sitting off stage, hidden in the crowd, dropped her wine glass. You were never supposed to see me again, I continued, but now you'll see me everywhere, in storefronts, in contracts, in every stitch of success you never believed I could create. I turned back to the audience. I'm not here for revenge. I'm here to reclaim what was mine and build something better. Applause erupted. Michael looked like he might collapse, but I wasn't watching. Him? I was already walking off stage, back toward the future. I didn't tear the farmhouse down. I restored it, plank by plank, thread by thread. The porch swings again now. The barn is a design studio with skylights. We host monthly workshops for women rebuilding their lives, just like I once did. Michael? He signed the legal transfer in silence. His tech startup is gone. The nonprofit folded. Mom cried when I made her sign the addendum, the one that reinstated Grandpa's original will. No cameras, no speeches, just ink and shame. I didn't take their house. I took back my name. Today, Walker Thread is headquartered on the very land they stole from me. Our packaging reads, Born from dust, built with fire, Walker Thread. Inside my farmhouse office, 3 things hang on the wall: the original will, the first Walker Thread denim jacket, and a brass nameplate that reads, Natalie Walker, founder, CEO, seamstress. Sometimes, I sit on the porch at dusk, sweet tea in hand, listening to the wind whistle through the cotton fields, not out of nostalgia, but as a reminder. They gave everything to my brother, and I still built the empire. By hand, by grit, and by choice.